What's up, guys? So we have a register form right here in Next.js, and we're going to create a login form. This one's going to be cool. We're going to store credentials in local storage. That way we can save them and persist a login session. So that's what we're doing today. If you don't have this Next.js server and the GraphQL server set up that I am using, I have links in the description below to set you guys up. So other than that, let's just get started. So here's the code for the front end. There's one small thing we need to change in the back end really quickly, and then we'll hop into front end code and do some React. And that is in our auth folder, or auth file. So we're doing try login here, and we are doing it with the user model, but we do not have that anymore. Well, we do have that, but to check if someone's logged in, we needed to get their email and password, which is in localauth now. So localauth, and then we're going to find where email, all that stays the same. We're just literally replacing it with localauth. Pass in localauth here. So this is kind of interesting. What are we going to store in our tokens here, right? So I actually don't know. So right now, the biggest thing is to store whether the person is an admin. So that would involve getting the user. Okay. So to get the user, we are going to do const user await. I was thinking we didn't have to add this stuff, but I actually want to, so we can pass the user and store the user and create tokens. So models.user.find1, where ID is equal to the user ID that we have from localauth. User ID. And this will be a raw query too, just so we save some data. And I just want to point out, there's one thing we could do to speed things up, and that is to put this user up here, right? Or to do it here and run it in parallel with either of these. But I'm actually just going to put it down here, I think, because I don't want to call it try to get the user unless we actually, well, first off, we have to fetch it here. The only time we would have to do it is have the opportunity. So what I'm thinking is we could parallel when we're doing users. As you've seen before where I'm doing promise.all, you can run two things at once. I was thinking you could parallel this and this, but you can't, because we need localauth to know which user to get, but we could parallel the checking of the password and getting the user. But I don't think it's worth, because there's going to be times when getting the user is wasted because they put in a bad password. So for the times, we're not going to worry about it. So we're just going to put it down here. Alright, so get the user, and then up here, make sure that we are grabbing the ID and is admin. Alright, and the backend's good to go. Alright, so we have a register form, and we actually have a login on the front end. And you can see this is doing OAuth before, but my OAuth will not work right now because I do not have ngrok up and running. But what I will do is go ahead and copy register and paste it here and basically just override our login page. So we could add a link to Facebook OAuth, but I'm not going to worry about it because it's not even going to work. I'm just going to do a regular login here. And for regular login, we just need username and is admin for the email or for the state. Here we are just going to be login. With data, we're not going to need a checkbox. We need input fields, we need button, we need head, we need React. We don't need this, we don't need to do checked. It's just going to be value because we're not doing a checkbox. On submit, this looks good. We got the head getting the style sheet for our ant to D. Here we only need a couple input fields, email and password. Don't have to worry about checkbox. And then down here we need to create a login mutation. And so let's go to localhost 3000/graphical. And we can actually build our mutation here. So we want a email, which is a string, and that is required. I want a password, which is a required string as well. And then what we want to do is log in, email, $email, password. And then we want to get our tokens here. So token and refresh token. And let's prettify. And we can paste this guy in here. And getting rid of our register logic. Alright, here we're going to use our login mutation. And then here is going to be login. And we're actually going to bust through this really fast. We already have our login form done, guys. Alright, we're not quite done because in our mutation here we actually want to save it in local storage, like I was saying. I think I created a Bob user, I cannot remember. We are loading a little slow. Alright, so I think it was bob@bob.com. If not, that's cool too. So we can expect to see if we're getting, and looks like it worked. Otherwise we would have gotten something here, right? So what we can do is we can see what the response is. So const response, and we're going to await the mutation. Then we can console.log response. I'm not sure why this .props. Oh. Yeah, why is this red? My ESLint is picking this up as an error for some reason. Comma is expected. Const response. I might have like a small error I'm missing. I do. Oh, because it's not an async function. There we go. I wasn't recognizing the await command. Alright. Another cool thing, we're using Apollo. Apollo actually has a some dev tools that you can use for Chrome. This is a extension, and you can actually see the mutations that are fired off. But it looks like we have some errors, so let's see what's happening here. Cannot read property call of undefined. Cannot read call. I actually have no idea what that's from. I'm actually just going to reload the page. And okay. So email here, we're going to put bob@bob.com. And we're going to submit. And we can see what it is, and nice. So we get the data, the login, refresh tokens here. So what we can do is we can say localStorage.setItem, and we can set the token. That's going to be, let's see what this was, response.data.login. So you get const token, refresh token 2. Refresh token is equal to response.data.login. And then grab the token, store it there, and refresh token, store it here. Oops, there we go. So now, refresh our page here, and if I log back in with the user that I've created, nothing happened. Nothing is happening. So if we click on the network tab, we can see if we fired off something to GraphQL. And I'm not sure why the console is staying here. Come over here to the network, click on that, and it looks like Webpack is taking a really long time. It looks like GraphQL was actually fired off. If we go to Apollo here, it'll tell us mutations. So it looks like there's 2, and I have a feeling I just need to refresh. Next.js is acting a little janky right now. Alright. Submit nothing. I wonder if this is us. This could be an us problem. This might not be, oh, I'm no longer printing this out. I'm just being a noob. We're good. I wasn't printing this. I thought it was going to come up here. I wasn't printing it. Okay, but if we go to application, we see refresh token and token. It's awesome. All right, so now what we can do is we can actually redirect them. I'm going to create a page called auth, let's say. New file auth. And this is going to be just a page that requires you to have authentication to see what is here. So we're going to do export default. And we're going to have some stuff here. And actually we're going to make this a function called auth because we're going to wrap it with some GraphQL stuff so we can get data. Const. Yep, this looks fine. Login. I'm going to grab the head piece here so we can get some ant design on this page. And I'm going to grab the imports here. We don't need React, I don't think. We don't need those. We will use these guys. I'm going to just wrap everything in a div. And let's just make sure this renders okay. So, alright, doesn't see the path. Oh, we weren't exporting it. We need to export it down here. Export default auth. Alright, cool. So we need to call some kind of GraphQL query. So let's come over here to our schema and let's call user. User has a username and email. Let's forget about email because that's harder to get. Boards. And then we have all users. So let's make all users. You have to be authenticated to see all the users. So in my resolvers here, let's just make sure all users looks good. And user board suggestion query all users, awesome. So all users here, models.user.findAll. Okay, looks good. I think we do have an error just in the database with a field that is null. The username in a schema cannot be null. So we're going to have to change this because basically a username in our database is null. So we need to be able to return null back. These all look good. Is admin, we will always see too. Okay. So all users, like I said, I want it to require authentication. And for our server to require authentication, we can use this require auth. Requires auth.create resolver, and we pass our resolver in. And that's it. And then here, this models.user.findAll looks good. Okie dokie. And in our index here, you can see this is our passport stuff. This was for Facebook auth. We're still checking the user here and passing him in right here. So we should be checking whether the user, and if we go to permissions and requires auth, we are checking whether there's a user and a user ID. All right, cool. All right, hop over back to the front end. Let's actually execute that query. So the query I wanted to do was all users, and let's just look at their ID and their usernames. And if I run this here, I should get a problem, not authenticated. Cool, because we're not an authenticated user here. But now that we can log in here, we are good to go. So we're going to paste in our query, and we're going to say with data. So let's grab with data here as well. If you guys were not watching the video when we hooked up GraphQL, with data you need to do every time you need to wrap with data over your GraphQL object every time you want to do a query, a mutation, anything with GraphQL. That's how we set up with Next.js. And am I just missing? I don't think I'm missing one. oh, what it wants is a line at the bottom, I think. No, expected a excuse me guys, it expects another parenthesis. From what though? Okay, it went away. Sometimes ESLint is a little buggy, I guess, with this editor. So here we can actually grab data, right? And we can, let's just see what the data we're getting, right? So if I come over here to /auth, if we did this correctly, and it doesn't look like we did, with data, GraphQL query auth, I'm not sure what it doesn't like. We did it exactly here. I mean, I can oh, hee. There we go. I was not calling GraphQL correctly. It's not 2 parameters, it's you call a function like that. Okay. So now in our auth, not authenticated. Interesting. So let's fix this bug that we have. So we have our refresh token and our token here. So we should be authenticated, right? I don't know why we're getting that. Maybe it's just because this is throwing an error and that's why. But let's debug this on the server. So here is my terminal. I have server up and running. We are going to see the problem that we're getting for our index. So is the problem that the token is not being passed? Actually, that's exactly what the problem is. The token's not being passed. I forgot about that part. Let's do that right now. So we were not passing the token automatically. So we can actually do this pretty easily. We added subscriptions here. This is something called middleware that we need to add. So GraphQL middleware, and this is Apollo. And this just intercepts basically your requests and adds in authentication. So if we go to, for example, React here, and we come to authentication, notice this is the recommended way to do authentication. We're going to follow it too. Authentication, you can do it through a cookie, header, and we do it through header. Here we go. So as exactly how they say, we're going to do it through localStorage, and it's going to look just like this. So we're going to copy this. Notice how this is our network interface that we're going to add stuff to. So in Apollo and init is where we set up our network interface, and a client side, what's it called? If it's not the client, we're building it here, and this is basically the meat of us setting it up on the client side. So we want to do it here, and so we're going to paste it here, and we're giving I don't know if you need to put this before we actually create the network interface with the subscriptions, but I think it's probably a good call to do that. So here, like it says, we're checking if there is a header already. If not, we're creating headers, and then we're passing our token in. Now we called our our two things are called xToken, which is localStorage.getItemToken, and we can get rid of those. I'm going to get rid of this comment because it's self-explanatory. And xRefresh token, I believe. And if we hop over to the server, we can see I put another dash here. So let's put a dash here. So what's going to happen is every time we do any type of query or mutation, it's going to run this middleware. And this middleware is going to say, look in local storage. Actually, we're making this on the server side. So I actually don't know if this will work. We're about to find out. If apply middleware is run on the client side, it will work because it'll get the local storage. So we might actually need to console this out to see if something doesn't work. We're going to do some console logging here, figure it out. And then here we need to get refresh token. And we're calling it refresh token, right? We go to login. Yeah, cool. So this is my assumption. I'm actually not sure how it works in Next.js. I think this runs on the client side, this apply middleware, every time we make a request, and it's going to grab the token, refresh token from local storage, pass it to the header, and then we're going to grab that header with this middleware we have in the backend. All right, let's check this guy out and see if it works. Not authenticated, so nothing happened. So I'm going to say console.log middleware called, so we can see when this is called. And then on the client side, I want to do some logging too, and just say console.log token, so we can see if a token is being passed to the server. Alright, so we run auth. We're not seeing any console log statements here, so I'm not thinking this got run. And if I come over here to the server code, I don't even see where the token is. I just see a bunch of select. Let's run it one more time to make sure. Not authenticated. Good, here we go. Undefined. Okay, so a token is not being passed. So that means we need to figure out how to get this thing working. We're creating a network interface here if we're not getting one. I'm curious if we need to add it here as well. So we're going to say if ni const network interface is equal to ni, we're going to say let. So now we can do that. Oops. Paste this here. So I'm moving it up here so we can do our middleware on this guy as well. So I'm going to say network interface is equal to network interface. And that's what we're gonna actually create here. And then I'm gonna create a function for this middleware that we can use. Let's actually I'm gonna copy and paste it just for speed, and then we'll refactor it if it does work. Okay. So now if I rerun this, local storage is not defined, network error. So it looks like this is being called, so we only want to do this if local storage. So it looks like this is where we want to add it possibly. Middleware called. And I think that's actually working now. I think, okay, we need to put it in both places, I think. And let's do if local storage down here as well. This is going to be middleware called 2. This is going to be middleware called 1. And now if we run that, local storage is not defined. Okay, why is that error happening? Right? Because we're checking if local storage here. And we're checking if local storage here. That actually should not happen. Network error, local storage not defined. Is it possible it's happening somewhere else? No, it can't be. It was working a second ago. Like, we saw it work for just one time. I'm going to just try commenting out this middleware. See if that does anything. Local storage is still not defined. Here's what I'll do. I'm assuming this is what's crashing it here. So just to check to make sure this is what's crashing it, we're going to comment. Oh, I think it's possibly this if statement that's messing things up. Because I'm doing if local storage, and local storage is not a thing. I think there should be a way to check if we're on the client or the server side. So what I can do is we need to somehow know if we're on the client or the server side. And I don't know off the top of my head where it tells us in here. Let's just try doing Apollo client here. So if Apollo client exists, then we run it. Alright, we're getting not authenticated. Interesting. Middleware is never called. Well, this is fun. I have no idea where to add this. Let's just, instead of debugging this forever, Next.js middleware, Apollo middleware, to add this guy in. Add login / authentication example. This is not exactly what I want at all, actually. I'm not even gonna look at that. I want to look at this one more time, actually. So the problem we're having is the token is not getting set. Okay, the problem we're having here is the middleware is not even being called. Like, forget setting it. We're having 2 console log statements, right? Actually, we have a bigger problem, guys. I'm pretty sure the middleware is being called on... Okay, so the reason why GraphQL is so fast... And okay, so the one reason why server rendering is cool and why it's a thing you should do is it does part of the render on the server side. I actually might do a whole render, I'm not for sure. And then it comes here, right? So it's actually doing the GraphQL query on the server side. So we actually can't store this in the local storage. We need to actually store this on like the server somewhere. So let's look this up and see if there is anything. So there needs to be like a local storage for the Next.js server. So let's explain one more time what's going on. So the reason why this is not working, and I've just realized this will never work, is because we're doing GraphQL queries from the Next.js server. Then we're rendering it, right? So what's going to happen is we're checking for local storage, right, to get authentication. That's not going to be there because local storage is only client when we're making these calls on the server. Yeah, authentication token storage. This is exactly the problem we're having. Let's see, basic check. I think it should be put in a cookie as well. Actually, I have another question. Okay, so maybe you need to do a cookie for this. Reusable authentication helper across pages. Okay, we're just getting back. Okay, let's see how they do this thing because it's got a lot of upvotes, I think. Let's see, make sure it did. Yeah. Get token. Utils. Handle submit. Alright. I actually don't know. I don't see anything here that persistent storage. Like set token, they're saying stuff in local storage. How are they getting that though? Because they're not even going to be able to get the token and get these things until they're on the client side. I guess we should look here. New auth service. And let's see where they're using auth service. So they should be calling get token. Wherever they're calling get token. Yeah, look at that. They're not even calling get token anywhere. So, I was going to say, because I don't think getting you can't really get tokens in Next.js. Not that I know of. What's this guy doing? By the way, this is a result. and auth 0. Okay, we don't need to use auth 0. The cookie bridge can be used if I'm probably doing the following thing is fairly trivial. Maybe we just have to use cookies, guys. I haven't used cookies before for this. I always like doing local storage. From point of view of someone who's learning a lot. Next.js 2 starter kit. Alright, I'm done with this. Alright guys, we're just going to rage quit this. So Next.js is not working for us at all. It's being a little bit annoying here. So local storage we can't get set up to show you guys this. I think I'm actually just going to rage quit Next.js. I'm not liking it at all. All these annoying little things that keep popping up. What I think I'm going to do is just pivot. I want to show you guys how to store this stuff in the local storage and create a login page and that sort of thing, how I like to do things. And I'm just going to use the create React framework, create React app framework, or not framework, starter kit. I really like this one. It is not server rendered, and that's why you'll see there's a lot of differences. Right here. So I'm going to be using this. I'm just going to start from scratch, the front end, and create a login page, a register and login page. It'll be really fast because I've done this a ton before. Next.js is being annoying. I'm kind of like done with Next.js. I'm not happy with it right now. There's so many quirks I don't like. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.